As you will know, a number of FIFA officials have been arrested in Zurich, Switzerland, where authorities have now launched 2 criminal investigations into the bids for the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. But it goes much further than that. Electronic data and documents were seized from FIFA's head office in Zurich. The investigation is being run separately to the United States case, which alleges widespread corruption in the sports governing body involving 14 people and tens of millions of dollars. Olly Barratt joins us now live from London. Olly, thanks for your time this morning. How is this news, and obviously it's still just filtering out, how is it being received in England?
Well, I heard you talking earlier about the idea that, you know, we've all suspected, if not known for some time, that there's been some corruption at the top of some of these organisations like FIFA. And so I think the news is being received here in the UK and elsewhere in Europe with a certain element of lack of surprise. But a bit of surprise in the sense that it appears that the authorities have a major case underway and maybe beginning to get to the bottom of some of it. I mean, I think for many football fans in Europe, they've felt for a long time that there was corruption at the top of FIFA and perhaps other organisations like it, but probably suspected that nothing would ever be done. So while there's not a huge amount of surprise at the allegations, I think there is surprise and shock, really, at the timing of these arrests and the scale of the investigation. No,
absolutely, because, of course, right here in New Zealand, in just over a day's time, the second biggest football tournament in the world is about to take place. So, as you say, the timing is very interesting. The other thing that's interesting is the response to Sepp Blatter on this, and he is very much sidelining people within FIFA and on the cusp of FIFA, and basically saying, you know, we're involved in fingering these people too, we want to root them out. He is taking absolutely no responsibility for this.
Yeah, and as the media was saying to him today, or saying to his representative in the press conference at FIFA, in any other organisation, corporation, business on earth, a situation like this where arrests of this scale were made and allegations like these were made, the chief executive would go, the boss would go, the boss would take responsibility for what had been happening or is claimed to have been happening on his watch. That won't happen with Sepp Blatter, at least not without a fight.
There are calls, of course, for the presidential election to be called off or at least postponed. Are there calls as well from some key people in the game for Sepp to stand down?
Absolutely there are, and there have been for some time. I mean, Sepp Blatter for a long time has said that this is a British media invention, all of the allegations around FIFA. For a long time he's pointed it back to the British and said, look, these are your newspapers making mischief, there's nothing to see here. Well, on this occasion he can't do that, and so the story is obviously developing legs of its own in that regard, because this is coming from America and it's coming from Switzerland and not from the UK. But there are key figures now here in Britain saying, former players and former professionals saying not only that Sepp Blatter should go, but that perhaps it's time for the English FA and other football associations around the world to begin boycotting FIFA itself. You know, this idea that FIFA would do something about these allegations and would act on corruption if Brazil, let's say, and England were saying they weren't going to play in the next World Cup.
Have any of the really big names come out and made a statement yet?
Well, we've heard from Gary Lineker. It depends how big a name you think he is. I mean,
he's on his way to being a big name.
He's a big name in the English game, certainly. Yeah, on his way to being a big name. He's come out and said that FIFA should be boycotted by the English and that the Germans should be encouraged to join in, and that if you got a number of these big footballing nations to take a real stand, then FIFA would have to be reformed and Sepp Blatter would have to go. So it's beginning to develop that momentum.
All right. Thank you for that, Olly. Before you go, the Queen, of course, has just finished her 60-second speech to Parliament, which was, I saw some pictures of it just a little bit earlier as she was delivering the speech, and I mean, the crown was beautiful. It's just so sparkly. It's just so British, isn't it? All of those beautiful red uniforms. Did she say anything stunningly interesting?
She didn't say anything stunningly surprising. I mean, the most interesting thing, I think, in her speech was well expected, was the setting out of plans to hold an EU referendum by 2017. Well expected, as I say, but significant nonetheless. All the pomp and ceremony is, of course, what Parliament does very well at times. It wasn't a hugely surprising speech, but, you know, I was out in Westminster earlier, and what many people were there to see was the Queen and the accompanying pomp and ceremony and pageantry, rather than, paying close attention to what she was saying. say.
Well, they won't have been disappointed because there was more pomp than you could shake a crown at. Olly, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure talking to you. Olly Barratt, our UK correspondent this morning.